Now to the Social Development Minister and the two beneficiaries who found themselves in the middle of a political storm. The two women who have 3 children each and both get the DPB are also studying nursing and education. As such, they qualified for the Training Assistance Allowance until National altered the allowance, cutting them out. They complained, and without their permission, Paula Bennett publicly revealed how much money the state was already giving them. A clear breach, I put to Paula Bennett, of the Privacy Acts.
Yeah, it's not a breach of the Privacy Act.
It
There's
is, Minister.
certain rules around it, and I'd seen them, and they weren't. No,
Okay.
it's happened many times before.
What parts of the Privacy Act allow you to unilaterally release personal information about people in these circumstances?
There are rules around it.
What
I mean,
ones?
people have put their own information out there already. Many times there's ministerial guidelines, and they are there. And I looked at them before I did it, took some advice,
If you looked at them,
certainly.
if you looked at them, could you tell me which ones allow you to release this information? Just tell me which one.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have it right in front of me, and we're outside, as you can see, but there is certainly a piece in it that actually addresses this very thing, and it went back from years ago, from where there was a ruling by the Privacy Commissioner, and I certainly, my understanding is that still stands.
And where did you get that advice from? Did you get it before or after you released the information?
I certainly took advice before I did it.
Who from?
And had a look, and then... Pardon?
Who from?
My office.
Right.
It's what I've got people there to give me this sort of advice, and I took that advice. And I certainly was told that it had been done before, and I certainly saw the piece that came off the website from the instructor.
Okay, let's accept that and move on. Aren't you shooting the messenger here? Isn't the discussion about the importance of the training incentive allowance not how much money these women are getting, which you know they are entitled to?
Yeah, they are fully entitled to,
right.
And they are getting that, and they should be. So I hold absolutely no judgment on it. I mean, it just comes down to, John, that their stories were out there, they were in the papers. They then Labor, stood them up as the poster girls for this and kept telling their stories. They kept saying that they thought it was unfair, that they won't be getting the training incentive allowance next year. From my perspective, I thought, well, let's actually see what the public think. They put themselves in the public. Labor then put them up as a sort of political football, and I just felt, let's make sure that the information is all out there and we're doing it with the right information.
Except the information is about the training incentive allowance, isn't it? It's not about how much they're getting on the DPB, is it? I mean, for example, when you were a solo mum, you got both the DPB and the training incentive allowance, didn't you? And you didn't feel compelled
the
at
level
the
of
time.
childcare assistance.
Sorry, you go.
But it's quite different times, John. In fact, it's very different times than when I was there. So you're just simply not comparing apples with apples.
Why not?
I mean, when I was at university, one of the first things I did was actually fight to get a childcare centre on campus. That's sort of how it was 15 years ago. There wasn't the same level of childcare assistance and support. There wasn't the after-school Oscar care. You couldn't get interest-free loans. We've just started the voluntary bonding scheme for those that are going into nursing and midwifery and doctors and ones like that have got skill shortages. So it's a very different time, and there's no real comparison. I mean, I'm incredibly proud that I received assistance and I got off. I encourage everyone to do that, it ain't going to be easy.
Isn't that what these women are trying to do? I mean, what's being inferred here, and what's being discussed far and wide, is that these women are ungrateful bludgers. Except that they're trying to do exactly. Right. Well, I'm pleased you think that, but they're trying to do exactly what you did, isn't it? One was studying nursing, one was studying education. They're trying to get off precisely the benefits they're now being criticised for getting.
Yeah, exactly. No, I take umbrage on their behalf, quite frankly. There's no way that they're sitting there bludgeoning. They're just saying it's going to be tough for them next year. And I'm saying, yeah, it is going to be. But here's some of the assistance that you're already getting and that you can get to help you at that time. And that's what I just wanted to make sure that we're having a full debate. Since they'd already put themselves out there, let's make sure that debate is full and is a true debate.
Paula Bennett. OK, lots of divided opinion on this one. Let's go to the Green spokesperson on this issue, Sue Bradford, who joins us now live from Wellington. Sue Bradford, I want to put the other point of view, and that is that these women, one of them's getting $500 a week, the other's getting $700 a week. This is public money. They should be publicly accountable for it. Isn't that fair enough? Lots of people, particularly judging from the Herald's feedback pages, seem to think it is.
The question here is that it's one of the worst abuses of ministerial power I've ever seen. This minister has released these women's personal information, not only without asking their permission, but without even telling them. What they were doing was making a political point. They were speaking out on the issue of the loss of the training incentive allowance, which didn't affect just them, affecting many other people.
Isn't how much they're getting from the state?
When you speak out on a political issue that affects beneficiaries, why should they then have their personal details revealed to the nation without their consent or even knowledge?
What say how much they're getting as beneficiaries is relevant to the wider consideration of their eligibility for this assistance?
I actually don't think it's relevant at all. If they'd agreed to having their information revealed, well, that's their business. But I don't think the minister had any right to reveal it without asking them. And it's not relevant at all, actually, to the political point that the two women were making, along with many others, protesting about the loss of the TIA for tertiary level education. It is an abuse of power. And I'd ask Paula Bennett to consider the fact that she's actually a minister of the Crown now, not a struggling solo mother herself.
Right.
She's got the whole resources of the state behind her. She's using them to try and smash down two women who are speaking up on behalf of beneficiaries all over the country.
Lots of people agree with her, and emails are flooding in. Can I just read one? While it's not right to disclose someone else's personal info, it's disheartening to work 40 hours a week, raise children and earn less than someone on the DPB. In other words, people are exasperated and they implicitly support Paula Bennett. What do you say to them?
Well, Paula Bennett will get a lot of support and a lot of votes from the people that love to bash beneficiaries, and unfortunately in this country there's always been a number of people who feel like that about beneficiaries and don't look at the reality. We don't know the details of those women's lives, what the situation is, how many children there are, what their accommodation situation. There's always a whole lot of information behind the sort of details the minister gave out. She hasn't given us those, nor should she, because that's private information. And I think really it's not only about abuse of power, but also the fact that this minister has a duty of care to the beneficiaries her department looks after or is supposed to look after. That duty of care does not involve revealing their personal details simply because they dare to go public and criticise the government's policies on welfare. This sends such a dangerous message to beneficiaries over the next 2.5 years. If you dare to speak up and criticise the government's welfare policies, boy, are we going to go after you with the full force of the state.
Sue Bradford.
Totally unacceptable.
Sue Bradford, thank you very much indeed for joining us. The Green Party's Sue Bradford.